Oh, hello. I didn't see you come in. Welcome back to Path of Exile, guys. It's kind of a corny intro there. I had Mr. Rogers on my mind for whatever reason. Just because Tom Hanks is sick. Or was sick, I don't even know. I haven't seen that movie, Welcome to My Neighborhood, with Mr. Rogers. I did hear somebody say that that movie wasn't even about... Well, not that it wasn't about Mr. Rogers, but Mr. Rogers was not the focal character of that movie. It was about a homeless guy? Don't quote me on that, because, again, I haven't seen the movie. This is the same recording session. I took 10 minutes to go make some coffee in between recordings. Apparently I forgot to empty my inventory like a boob. Like a boob, guys. So we're going to have to start the episode off with that. I apologize for that. This looks decent, but 32% charge recovery. Look at this. I thought that was a gem there for a second. That would be really cool if they gave you sockets like that, and you get like... Actually, they should do that. If anybody from Grinding Gear Games watches this, or anybody that knows somebody that works at Grinding Gear Games that happens to come across this recording, you guys should make gems that big with like some kind of weird, I don't know, maybe like another slot, like a backpack slot that has a bunch of sockets where you can put like a giant one in there, because that would feel so good to just plop that in.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, I got super excited about that. Probably oddly so. Probably seems strange to some of you. But do that. I want to see it. Be weirded out that I was so excited about it, but also do it. Also implement that. How's it doing? Here? Yes, here. Ruby ring, we don't want it. I know there's a temple like way up north. I think that's where the moon temple is going to be. You know what we should have done, because we were right there and we had already done what we needed to do to get out here? We should have been doing the Ascendancy trial. I swear I'm not doing this on purpose, guys. We'll get back to the Ascendancy trials sooner than later. The Wings of Asteria. Yeah, here's the temple here. So this is the Lunar Temple? Yeah. Lunaris Temple. Report bugs with /bug chat command. Still haven't done that. I haven't seen any bugs though, I don't think. Outside of the performance bug that they had, which they were fully aware of. This is pretty cool lighting in here. See, immediately I was thinking of the song, I think it's Sheryl Crow, where she's like, the sun and the moon. All I want to do is have some fun. I think it's Sheryl Crow. But as soon as in my mind, I was thinking, this looked like the moon. I said, look how cool this looks, or this looks cool. Can't remember what I said. And then I was thinking about that Sheryl Crow song. I don't think it's ADD. Or ADHD, I'm not even sure what you call it. I think it's just pop culture has boiled my mind. Not even baked, just boiled. It's taking all the flavor out of it. Mash it. Stick them in a stew. Potatoes. See, we did it again. What are we looking for? We're looking for a moon orb? Oh, this is the same. There's two quests, same quest. It's like two birds, one stone. This might be the end of the act, actually. We're getting close to it. Probably get both orbs and then I don't know, do something else. I thought it was funny that we went all the way around this way, here, to get over to here, when you just go this way. Yeah, it's kind of silly. We had fun, though. I mean, that's what matters. It's not about the journey, it's about the destination. Is that what they say? It's the other way around, but... It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Is Journey a popular band in other cultures? I don't know. I think they're... I don't even know if they're popular in America, really. I think they are. They probably are. Popular in America, anyway. I don't know if they are around the world, though. I'm not really a huge Journey fan myself, but I appreciate that they make good. They make good songs, right? When Journey's on the radio, you're not like. At least I'm not. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I'm like, get this off my radio. Get it off my radio. I don't say that. Another one of these fog standards. It's so strange looking at the visual quality of the game now. It's like we're not even playing the same game. It's so bizarre. What are you doing down here? Those animated flags. I guess down. There's no music here. I've just noticed there's no. It's all there's a couple of tones being played for. Is it I? Oh. No, the music's not turned off. You know, one of the problems with me not going to process the video in between this episode and the last is I don't know if the sound settings are going to be good enough for whatever the recording is going to wind up being. Because it's never what I think it is. What I hear when I listen to it back is not the same sound. So hopefully this is like the optimal sound where I don't have to change anything. I don't have to guess what the sound's going to be like, basically. I'm saying. But we didn't check, so we won't know. It's going to be 6 dB louder than it was last, well, 2 episodes ago. For this series. For people keeping track. I'm sure nobody is. Kind of a weird stat to keep track of. Yeah, this is where all those people were being tortured and the bodies were being piled up. I remember this area. And this is where we fought Piety the first time, I think? IIRC? Yeah. Be interesting if they bought back Piety, right? A third time. Actually, they bought her back 4 times. Well, I think you only fought her, let's see. Just twice, actually. She was all over the first half of the game. mean, nothing can harm us anymore. It doesn't feel like. Although if you did catch last episode, was the first episode that we've died in since we got demoted to Standard League, non-hardcore, normal league. Yeah, I think it was ice that killed us. Just in a big old blizzard, and like that one there, got decapitated. I wonder if we have really low frost resist. Let's just check. Cold? No, it's not bad. Actually, that's approaching second cap. It's approaching, I think 160 might be the secondary cap. I don't know. There's so much stuff in this game, I can't remember half of it. I feel like if you're going to be like super knowledgeable about this game, this needs to be the game you play all the time. Well, that's not to say you can't play it and enjoy it, but if you're going to be like, that's how much depth there is in the game. You could probably write your dissertation on this game and the mechanics in it. Which I think is a really cool thing about modern games today. That they're more accessible now than they ever were before. I mean, I grew up in an era where video games were extremely difficult. You didn't beat games. Just there were a lot of times you would buy a game or you would rent a game. Renting was a thing you did back in the day. For people that are so young that they don't remember that. Actually, I think you can still rent games today. Yeah, you can still rent games today. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, a lot of the times you just wouldn't beat the game. Sometimes you wouldn't even get off the first screen of the game. And that was just the way it was, and you just tried to beat it. There wasn't a lot of games to play. There's so many games to play nowadays. And, like, for instance, this game is free, right? You can just play this game. It's incredible. You didn't have that back then either, right? But games they're designed in such a way now that they try to be accessible to everybody, while also adding a layer to people that still want to challenge themselves in games. And I'm not saying it's the same difficulty curve that it was back in the 90s or the 80s. But that same spirit is there in a lot of ways. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that everybody can enjoy games now to some degree. I mean, some games it's not true. Like, some of my favorite games are, like Dark Souls, where it's just brutal all the way up and down. And there's tons of other games like that too. And I tend to really enjoy those games a lot. Just because the difficulty is, I don't know. It's fun to play hard games. Doing things that are hard is fun. When it gets boring or too easy, that's when I tend to check out, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. Not surprised they let us do that there. And so this game doesn't necessarily do that. Cartographer's Chisel. I mean, it does in that you can play the hardcore version and really challenge yourself to force yourself to have to learn the game, learn the areas, play cautious and consistent, and not die. And I think a lot of the times where I used to not play those versions of the game, I was, I don't want to say cheating myself, but in a way I was playing a version that was easy. Well, I got froze there. Just easier, so I could experience the whole game and just do the endless grind instead of actually challenging myself with the more difficult part that the developers put into the game. I just chose not to play it, right? So what I'm saying is you hear a lot of people say, well, they don't make them like they used to, or games aren't as difficult today, but they really are. They're just the default mode is now. It's designed in such a way to be accessible for everybody, and then if you want a challenge, go play the hard mode, do all the achievements, that kind of thing. I think I talked about this briefly in another episode many weeks ago, but I think that is the way that it is. People may feel free to disagree with me. Games are just easier, and they are easier in some way. That some of those old games just had bugs because software was kind of new back then, and it just had bugs. There was less money going into quality control. I don't even think they had testing back in the day. They didn't have testing. They didn't have version control. They didn't have any of that stuff. And so, you just wound up with buggy software a lot back in the day. And unbeatable software as a result. So I don't mean it's, excluding those types of games where it was impossible to do something. I disagree. I think games are equally as difficult today as they were back then. There's always a game that comes to mind when I think about this kind of stuff. When I said you wouldn't get by the first screen, I remember renting Secret of Mana, which I hear is a fantastic game, and I hear a lot of people like it. It's one of the classics from the Super Nintendo RPG era. But I remember renting it and not being able to get by the second screen. And you couldn't look it up on the internet back then. What are we doing here? Going towards the boss, it kind of looks like. Yep. Hello. I was going to be like the other one we did, though. So yeah, you just kind of roll with what you got back in the day, and I spent several hours trying to get by that second screen, and eventually I just said, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. And I kind of remember going back on an emulator 10 years later and seeing how to get through there. I was curious. And it was something so stupid that this is going to be really good. Yeah, it does look good. How do we get the Moon Orb? And Minions rank 1. Nice. So yeah, games used to do stuff like that, and you didn't have the internet to help you out. It just was what it was. So they're not difficult in that regard anymore, but the challenge is still there, I think. If you want it to be. I mean, I would love to see these as gems. Charge recovery. Increase recovery rate. 15 strength. That was almost great. Did you say we're getting there? I think you did. Yeah, we're getting our way through it. There's another player here. Harmony Jones, level 59. What level are we? 66? So we have a couple options here. We can do the Labyrinth, go to the bathhouse, which I think it's going to be one of these two, actually, because we'll save this for the very end. Although, we're supposed to take him over here. Let's go ahead and do the Labyrinth then. Might as well, since we're here. I felt like I waffled on forever about game difficulty there, getting through the Linares Temple, but I mean, that's only like 5 minutes of rambling there. It's tough to talk continuously on the internet to yourself. I mean, I'm not even a great speaker to speak to other people for an extended period of time. Talking to yourself is it's different. It is different. I did. Was planning on doing some videos with somebody else occasionally, but yeah, I haven't talked to that person in like a week now. I should probably get in touch with them sometime before this weekend, I guess. That'd be good. Just at least check on them. But we did some recordings together, myself and the person I'm talking about. And yeah, it is very different. You have no one to feed off of. You just have to expand your thoughts. You know, come up with a topic and just keep expanding on your own thoughts. And hopefully not offend anybody in the process, right? Because you're thinking out loud and on the fly. Some people, I saw somebody the other day saying that they disliked how YouTube had become a space where Let's Players were trying to do their best not to offend people. There's a ton of dialogue going on in the background. Oh, we missed all that. Sorry about that. This is just blabbing my mouth off about... I feel like we probably missed some keys, but we'll be fine. Yeah, I was on the front page of Reddit, and they were saying how... they didn't like how YouTubers were... toning down their material in order to what perceived to be toning down to appease to advertisers, right? And I actually disagree with this. I think people should be allowed to do whatever they want. You know, if that's the way they want to do it, then that's the way they want to do it. Even if it's money driven. But also, I don't think it's a negative thing to want to not try to not offend people. I think that's a valiant thing to do. I think that's the correct thing to do. Right. Now, I feel for the people that are just being themselves and they say and do things that accidentally offend other people. I don't want to believe that that's their intent, was to offend other people. And we're talking about like comedians mostly. Like, I know they don't want to offend other people. Nobody wants to offend anybody else. And hopefully that's the... People aren't trying to offend, they're trying to entertain or educate. Did we go the right way? I think we did. So I was surprised to see people say that and then they made it sound like it was a bad thing, that the people that they enjoyed watching on YouTube or Twitch were trying to be more inclusive. It's like somebody else's inclusivity made things exclusive for them, or made things less exclusive for them. Like they relish the exclusivity of something by being able to exclude another group or make another group feel unwanted. It's a strange thing. We humans are a weird group of people. A weird bunch. Can I go that way? They said no. But if everybody could own a, we're about to die. I don't know, some sports car, right? That sports car loses its value, and I think that happens in other aspects of life too, where unfortunately, it's just how it is. I don't know why I like touching on these. They're not really sensitive topics. I mean, I think it's pretty standard things that I'm saying here. I think it's controversial on my end, but I don't know. Just thinking of thoughts and expanding on them. Just to keep the dialogue going. That's all. Playing some Path of Exile. I backed off of that because I really don't want to die trying to get a key for those chests at the end of this this place. Even though it doesn't matter if we die, I still would rather just not. I'm not really in a hurry to get to the end game either, but at the same time I kinda am. I mean, this is probably the... I'm assuming, anyway. Like, again, I don't even... There could be nothing at the endgame. I just think everything I've read leads me to believe that there's a ton of endgame. And that's the way these games usually shape up. So I'm tired of playing, like, the... I don't know, but not necessarily tired of it, but... I'm ready for the true grind. Yeah.
Life is short. Deal with it.
Life is short. Deal with it. Truer words have never been spoken. Copper Chris. Copper Chris. So this feels very much like the same Ascendancy trial, the first one. That we went through. Maybe, you know, it's slightly adjusted, but the same kind of layout. And I'm sure the mobs have been scaled and the traps have been scaled. Etc. Etc. That's a funny word. Etc. I think I'm pretty sure, actually, I don't think. I usually say etc. EX. There's no X in etc. I do have a lot of words. Different words pronounce letters that shouldn't be in there. I pronounced ibuprofen, and even then, like, I had to make sure that I said it right. Not that it really matters which way you say it. But I just think it's funny. My whole life, I just assumed it was called ibuprofen, and I can't remember. You know, it's probably in the last year or so that I learned that it was actually pronounced ibuprofen, and I can't remember who pointed that out. Actually, I do want to go take this. Go take this door here. We're getting 0 keys. We don't care, guys. I don't need loot from here. It's level 55 loot. Yeah. It's funny that we do that, though. I do, anyway. It rolls off the tongue. They should change the name of the medicine to ibuprofen. Well, ibuprofen sounds... Actually, that kind of rolls off easier. Ibuprofen. I wonder if this Ascendancy trial was part of the base game. Like the first version 1. And we were playing... What are we playing? Version... I thought they would show us the version number there. I don't know, not version 1 for sure. Probably like in version 12 of the game. Or 13 or 14. Definitely not 1. But I wonder if this trial system was in the game. Or whether you just played standard. You just didn't get that. I don't know. I don't know. I felt like we wanted to get in here and take this guy out. Oh, it's locked. Maybe... Do you want to go this way? So, that's our guardian. Increased area of effect support. This would be cool to finish the standard campaign. I am actually really excited to beat Kitava for the final time. Wonder if he's going to be like marshmallow man size again, or if he's going to be pocket size. Probably marshmallow man size. Speaking of Ghostbusters, the Marshmallow Man, there's a new Ghostbusters movie coming out sometime. I feel like a lot of things have been put on hold with what's going on right now, and I think Hollywood is kind of suffering a little bit from that, and they're slowing down whatever it is they've got going on, or whatever tentative schedule they had for releases and announcements and things. For at least the immediate future, which is okay. Basilicals. Destroying any connected portals. Did we go the wrong way? No, we went the right way. I forgot to get my Metamorph soundtrack for free. I think I might have missed the deadline for that too. I think no, I think it's March 3rd is the deadline. So today's the 2nd. Should be the day that this video is going out. You should playing PoE. You should try to pick that up. I mean, the thing about it is you could always go. Music's a funny thing. I don't know. Data in general is a funny thing. It's probably some of our most valuable assets that we have in modern day software, and it's broken down into ones and zeros. Right? I don't know. I mean, if you think about it conceptually, the kinds of things that concept, the problems, and I don't know if I necessarily call them problems, but they were issues the old world didn't really consider, I don't think, the ramifications of moving to that system. I mean, with power and flexibility comes some trade-offs. Yeah.
An aspirant can afford to be promising. An emperor must keep those promises.
We actually did get 0 keys. Do you want to read this, Paul? We didn't read any of them. Let's read it.
The guide led the warrior down a path that wound and twisted through fields of blossoming promises, green-bladed hopes. The warrior closed his eyes, a mere moment to feel the warmth of the sun on his back, and to drink from the guide's prophet flask.
Well, that's I mean, it's cool they got voice acting for that now. I don't think they had that. I don't know if that's new or not. It's cool if it is. I don't know who's reading that though. It's definitely not the skeleton there. Looks like we got to deal with some traps here. Some arrows. Is the safe area going to be the spikes? There is no safe area. Treasure Hunter. Got an achievement. You don't really want any of that, to be honest with you guys. Let's go that one, and that one. So all the what you categorize this, these the brown stuff? Is it currency? Resources? I don't know. You just get a ton of it though. I think those cartographer chisels, yeah, makes the maps more difficult. So you create maps, and then you add the chisel to add affixes and rewards to them. I think we only had 3. Yeah, we only had 3. Divine font on a pair of boots or gloves. I'll put them on the boots this time. 0.4% of damage leached as life as you've killed recently. That's life if you've killed recently. Stash, no. And then we can ascend. Leader, okay. And we get how many points? 2 ascendancy points. Commander of Darkness, auras. I heard aura builds are a big thing nowadays. We don't have any auras though. Auras from skills grant 3% increased attack speed. So let's not pick up that. This is minion movement speed, damage, attack speed. This is consumed a corpse recently. You and your minions have 30% increased area of effect. At least one nearby corpse, you and allies deal 10% more damage. Nearby enemies deal 10% reduced damage. Your offering skills also affect you. Your offerings 25% reduce effect on you. 30% increased skill effect duration. 30% increased minion duration. And this doesn't seem good for bosses, right? Because you have to consume a corpse, or a corpse has to be nearby to get it. And bosses are the difficult thing to take care of. I'm feeling like it's either going to be this one, or offerings. Again, we have to consume a corpse. And I think we go this way. That'll be the most helpful on bosses. I don't know if that was correct or not, but that's made sense to me. So, and now, what do you mean? Now we can play the game. You know what that's a reference to? Then, yeah. You get nothing except you have you watched a good show at some point in your life. We know that. I mean, I'm not saying if you didn't watch it, you have never watched a good show. Yeah, I still need to watch The Mandalorian. I still have not watched The Mandalorian yet. Been meaning to do it. Disney sends me an ad for The Mandalorian, like, you know, probably for like 2 weeks there. It was probably 9%. Well, we'll say 10%. 9% just seems weird to say. That's probably 10% of all ads that were served to me were watch The Mandalorian now. And I get Disney Plus for free for being a Verizon customer. So I have it. I just haven't watched it yet. And I really did want to watch it too. I don't know. I'm going to say something very controversial here. To probably about half the people that will ever view this episode. But I thought the new Star Wars, not just the newest one, the latest one, which would be... I can't remember what the name of the last one was. Rise of Skywalker, I think it was the last one. Rise of Skywalker, I think, was excellent. The new Star Wars movies are excellent, and I disagree if you think they're not good. I understand why you might not like them, and believe me, I understand there's a ton of problems with the third one as far as plots go. I've seen all the videos and critiques of the huge mistakes they make in that. And I'm not disagreeing that those aren't there, but they're still excellent films, in my opinion. And I think, to be honest with you, I would rather sit down and watch those than the old ones. Or the, and this is very unpopular. I know a lot of people love the original trilogy with the Phantom Menace and the Attack of the Clones and all those ones. I don't think those are very good at all. The Phantom Menace was probably the best one, and they're not terrible. I mean, oh god, I think the Star Wars gods just killed me. Let's see if we can get back to that point real quick. I don't think they're terrible. Wow, they're not terrible movies. I mean, I still would rather watch those over thousands of other potential movies I could watch at any given time. But I think to say that those are better than either one of the other series is not just not true. Again, it's my opinion, and I think the new ones were excellent. For some reason, I kind of felt like we needed to go pick up our souls or something. Maybe we just died in Dark Souls. Even in the right area, I think we need to go back. It's probably going to be back this way, actually. We don't have a golem down. Let's get a golem down. And let's go ahead and pop a skill point, I guess. I said I was just going to go defensive, but I might as well fill out that tree that we were going down if I can find it. Where were you at? Here. See if we can kind of remember where that was at. Just straight up and to the right. Who are you? Oh, incursion? Nah, we're not going to do that. Not going to be doing that. Although that does look like fun, and I'm sure it is fun. It was fun last time we did it. We are trying to kill a Katava. Down this way. The bathhouse. Well, that wasn't what we were looking for, but there's a quest here, so let's do it. An obstacle quest. Maybe we can finish this quest before the we have to cut the episode off here. Are bathhouses still a thing? I feel like they are. They don't. It's not really a thing in the States. You're watching the video from the States and thinking to yourself, of course bathhouses are still a thing. They're all over wherever you are from. They don't, it's not really a thing in the US. I'm not going to say there aren't any. Because I could never confirm that there's never something of something. Right. The United States is pretty big. Pretty big country. Interestingly enough, though, it's not as big as it's not as big as the maps. Like if you've ever looked at a world map, you may think the U.S. is significantly bigger than it actually is. It's not quite that big. It's big. Don't get me wrong, it's really big. but it's not. I don't. It's not as big as Australia. I don't think. It's definitely not as big as the continent of Africa. So if you look on a map, a modern map, you would think that Africa is gargantuan size. Map maker, make me a map. Kill Hector Titicus. I'm like a child. Funnily enough, I was watching. It's funny that made me laugh. I was watching Beavis and Butthead yesterday. Just on an off chance, he got recommended to me in YouTube. I wasn't watching like DVDs of Beavis and Butthead. I don't think you watch Beavis and Butthead on any streaming service or television network. You may be able to. I don't know. But that's my kind of humor right there, Beavis and Butthead. That was very much made for my generation. In fact, it was made for my generation. Big fan of his Mike Judge work too. I really like King of the Hill, and I loved Silicon Valley and Office Space. And I'm sure he's done other things too. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but he's a fantastic writer. Or I'm not sure if writing is really his forte. I think he does write all that stuff though. Creator though, it's definitely the creator. But Beavis and Butthead is definitely part of that. Umbrella. Well, we missed the waypoint in the bathhouse. It's alright. You know, I think that's what that means. So if there's a small dot, I just figured it out. Small dot means there is a waypoint. We didn't find it. Empty spot, which I've seen, like there, means no waypoint. We figured it out, guys. It took us a lot of episodes, but we figured it out. Yeah. And so when we were coming down through here, yeah, there wasn't one on the bridge. See? We figured it out. I'm sure anybody that's played this game that watches last episode and saw us go back looking for the waypoint was probably very annoyed. Or will be very annoyed in future.
This'll do nicely, Exile.
No problem, Nico. Is that I think there's a cap on this stuff. And I think we're way over the cap. We should probably go do that. I don't think I will, but we probably should. If we were playing, not trying to play to see the end of the game, to kill Kitava, we'd probably go do that. We'll just do it at the end and just be inefficient about it. We don't care. Again, this isn't a character that we're gonna play. This is going to be like the old hat character we play in PoE when we just feel like playing PoE and things aren't going right in the hardcore world. And we're still having to be putting out one episode a week of this game. We'll play this character. Which hopefully is not often that we're in that scenario. I'm not even sure what I'm going to play next after we switch series here. I haven't. There's tons of games. I think I mentioned way earlier that I was thinking about playing Resident Evil Biohazard. Is it Resident Evil 7 Biohazard? I think that's the name of the game. I have to look. The VR one. I was talking about that, and I still do want to play that. I almost played that on the one-off, but I didn't really want to set up the VR headset. Which is probably the biggest... I mean, I love VR, I do. and it's got a lot of potential. There's two major problems I have with VR. And again, that's not a slight on it. I still think it's great technology. The games aren't quite there, sadly. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good games. Well, actually, there are some good games. There aren't a lot of them. And there's a lot of studios still releasing major titles that aren't VR compatible. And so it's difficult to skip those titles just because they aren't VR. But they're definitely titles you would want to play in VR for sure. And then some companies are dabbing their toes into it. And I get it. I mean, you don't want to invest, the same amount that you invest in making a full-scale game in an untested market where, it's got a smaller market share than just, if everybody owns a PC or an Xbox or PlayStation, let's say, then in order to play their VR game, they have to own a PSVR and a headset, right? Which is just another cost. So there's more people to sell regular games to. So I get why the companies don't all get on board. Cobalt Joel. So I'm not faulting companies for not jumping at the bit. I wish more had gotten on board at the beginning, though. I'll say that. I love that Valve just did Half-Life Alyx, which is huge to have a big studio make another big game. There's been some big studios to make games. I'm not saying there isn't, but to invest full effort into it is another thing.
Too much clutter.
So that's my first problem. And my second problem is it's kind of a pain to set up. And I know what some of you are thinking, well, is it really that bad? No, it's not. It doesn't take much time, right? It probably takes me, this is going to sound real bad, like less than a minute to set it up. But even at that, I'm still like, oh god. It's going to take me how long to set up? I'm out. It's kind of sad. I acknowledge it at least, so you give me credit for that. And so one of the biggest things I advocated for, I filled out a survey when they were starting to work on the second iteration of the Oculus, which I own an Oculus. I don't own an Index or a Vive. I own the CV1 and I bought the developer kit. But so from the CV1 to the next iteration, I filled out a survey and said the biggest thing that they could do is make it wireless, because that would eliminate some of the setup required to just play something. In hindsight, which oddly enough, and I'm not saying I definitely had a hand in suggesting it, along with a ton of other people that voted for it as well. See, we're capped there. I'm sure they wouldn't have put it on there if it wasn't something they weren't sure that they could do, or that they wanted to do on the survey. It does make setting it up, and here's the thing, I don't know. I don't own an Oculus Quest, but that's the whole principle behind the Oculus Quest. You don't need the PC anymore, so you don't have to hook up the wires. It's wireless. So it's not even about not having the PC. It's about not having the wire draped over you and having to plug the wire in and out every time you wanted to play the Oculus. Here's the thing, my graphics card only has so many slots on the back of it for display. And there's already a bunch of stuff feeding through there. I could leave the Oculus plugged in all day. I don't, because I actually don't have enough slots for it. So the nice thing about it being wireless is you don't have to mess with that. So this is one less step between you and getting to the virtual reality content. I can talk about virtual reality here for the rest of this episode is what it's going to work out to be. So that was a good move on their part. The problem I have with it was, in my mind, and I'm sure a lot of people are very satisfied with the product they came out with, and I haven't tried it, so I can't really say whether I am or I'm not. I'm sure it's great. And I don't know how powerful it is or it isn't. But what I really wanted from them was the ability to use the headset with my PC getting the same kind of quality that you would get from using a high-end desktop without having to have a wire to transfer the data. Which is probably a huge engineering feat that, a bigger engineering feat than the one they solved, right? And I'm sure that what they solved was not to get the kind of performance that they got in the form factor that they did it in, like the space that they were allowed to work with. Are we even worried about it? We're not worried about this boss. I'm sure that was a huge success and a difficult task that they should be very proud of the work that they did there. But we all know that it's not going to be the same performance as a high-end PC. And so it kind of fails in that regard to me. And I wouldn't even call it a failure. It's just a failure on what I had voted for, what I thought they were going to work on. And it's still welcome, because I'm sure it's actually it's probably a decent product. And it may even be as good as my computer, like being able to run games as well as my computer does right now with my 980 Ti. But you know, everybody's going up to 2080s and 2080 Ti's, yada yada yada. It's not going to be able to run those real high-end games. And so then you're asking,
The mirrors are thus shattered.
we did it, son. All right, I'll shut up.
Cautionary tale. The only way to truly understand fear is to become it.
No, totally. Become the fear. 5% reduce. Your minions take 20%. You and your minions take 25% reduced reflected damage. 50% chance to reflect enemy chills and freezes. But I think we'll just stick with what we got, man. We don't mind. And now I want to go here. But we're going to go back to town, empty our pack, do some identification. Then we'll probably end the episode as we're reaching that magical 1 hour mark. Just an aside, though, on the VR thing. I still support VR, and I think, especially if you don't have a VR headset right now, I highly recommend you... I don't highly recommend it. If you got the money, I think it's a good time to invest in VR, because I think it's cheaper now. The Quest. I'll shut up again.
Sick bastard. Well, he's gone now, and I hope you made sure he suffered like those poor kiddies he tormented. I'd have toasted him nice and slow like a spitted pig. See how he'd like them apples stuffed in his mouth. Here, have something for keeping us safe from the divine undesirables of this world.
Skill points? Yeah. We need to sell her.
Found them. No easy feat, I bet. How's old Hector these days? Not so good after you cross paths with them, am I right?
You're right. You're right about that.
Polish these wings up and get them back to their owners, just as soon as my Mariketh friend can get her folks to pay the ransom. Price, I mean. In the meantime, take a little something from my stock as payment.
It's not bad there. Well, we'll take a... Use cost of skills. No. I mean, we'll take that, but I don't think we're going to use that. That's a crazy looking gem. So anyway, back to the VR thing. I think if you don't have VR yet, now's not a bad time to get in. It's cheaper than ever. You don't need a high-end PC to do it. And I know they had the Oculus Daydream, or I can't remember what it was called, the standalone unit. But I think the Quest, if you're serious, if you have the money and you really want to get into VR, probably get the Index. If you don't have a ton of money to spend and you want to get into VR, I mean, the Quest is probably definitely the way to go. And I watched a guy review the 2 new headsets not too recently, and that was kind of his suggestion as well. And it's mine too. I totally agree with him, even though I haven't had hands-on experience with either one. Is that everything? Looks like it.
Good luck to you.
Is this a ring? This is a... Yes, this is a ring. He's slightly better than that. We're going to lose... 40% to our cold resistance, but I guess that's okay. Yeah, we're sitting pretty bad on resistances right now, but we don't really We don't care too much. Until we're dead, and then we'll care. We'll start complaining about our resistances then, but not until then. I feel like this was potentially good. No, I really don't want that either, to be honest. Sacred Life Flask for 1460? Nah, I don't really want that either. Let's go sell this before we dump all that in there.
You're right.
This stuff, please.
Good luck to you.
Go sell that. Oh well. I'll do that off camera, I guess, after this episode's over. That's going to do it for me, guys. If you like this episode, drop it a like. If you like me, subscribe for more content. Next episode, we'll go in and try to get to Act 9. But until tomorrow, yeah, take care, guys. See you next time.